Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I don't like the light. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Și sigurul asta cu bunătate. Ups, capnese. Ok. Samsaradava nalalida loka Tranaya karunya ganaganatva Praptasya kalyana gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita Vaditra Madhyan Manasora Sena Romancha Kampa Shrutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Shri Vigrahara Dananityanana Shringaratan Mandira Marjanado Yuktasya Bhaktam Shani Unjatopin Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Shri Chaturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasada Sadvana Tripta Hari Bhakta Sangha Kritveva Triptim Bhajato Sadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Prasada Shri Radhika Madhavayora Para Madhurya Leela Guna Rupanamna Lalupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Shri Radhika Madhavayora Para Madhurya Leela Pratikshana Swadana Lolupasya Nikunjayuna Rati Kelisidya Tati Valabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Yayali Biryuktirapekshaniyya Atrati Dakshya Tati Valabhasya Sakshadaриtvena samasta shastraya Uktastata bhavyata eva sadvi Kintu praborya priya eva tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Yasya prasadat Bhagavat prasadam Yasya prasadat Nagati kutopi Tasya Shastri Sandhya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam Dhyayam stuvam stasya Shastri Sandhya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam Samsaradava nalalida loka Tranaya karunya gana ganatvam Praptasya kalyana gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam 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 Charanaravindam Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krišna Krišna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krišna, dragi bakte, dragi gostje, lepo pozdravljeni na nedeljskem festivalu. Najlepša hvala Badra Madavi za lepe bhađane. Danes sledi predavanje Praladananda Svamija z naslovom Odkrite svoj resnični interes. Po predavanju bo Damodar Aštaka in ob 7. Po prasadamu bo program Plus z duhovno glasbo, ki jo z Lalit Govinda Prabhujem. Slušalke dobite pri pri Dojal Chandra Prabhuju. Ja. Potem jih tudi prosim vrnite slušalke. Okay, Hare Krišna.
Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvite Sashunyavadi Pasyajade Sitarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krišna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jamo Vishnupada Paramahamsa Prabhakacharya Asadhara Sakushi Shiman, His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Haribo Slava Zabrani Bhakta, Slava Shri Guru Shri Grangi, Mom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthai Bhute, Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane, Namaste Saraswatam Deve, Gauravani Vicharane, Nirvishesha Srinivadi, Paskatya De Sakarne. Om Agyana Tivanandasya, Kananjana Salakaya, Chaksur Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam, Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Stapitam Yena Swayam Rupa Kadamaya, Tadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Uta Para Kamalam, Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha, Shri Rupam Sagradatam, Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam, Sadvaitam Sabadutam, Vrajana Saitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padan, Sahagana Lalita, Shri Vasakans Vitamscha, Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu, Dinabando Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchina Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Prishubhanu Sutadevi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Panchakapa Trubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha, Patiranam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text number 28. Yesham twandikatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandvama nirmukta bhajante mam drida vrataha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful activities are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Srila Prabhupada's purport: those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse for those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, and deceitful. It is very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regular principles of religion, who have acted piously, who have conquered sinful reaction, can accept devotional service, and gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then gradually they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the process of becoming situated on the spiritual platform. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness in the association of pure devotees. For the association of great devotees, one can be delivered from delusion. It's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2 that if one actually wants to be liberated, he must render service to the devotees. Mahat sevam dwaram ahor vimukte. But one who associates with materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region of existence. Tamo dwaram yoshitam sangi sangam. All the devotees of the Lord transverse this earth just to reclaim the conditioned souls from their delusion. The impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated in his own constitutional position, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Personality or to be fully engaged in his transcendent loving service with determination. Yesham twantakatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanva moha nirmuktva bhajante mam vrataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Namo Vishnu Varaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Siddharne. First lecture I ever heard Srila Prabhupada give. First thing he said is that in this material world, there are only two activities. One is we're hankering after what we don't have, and the other is we're lamenting over what we lost. And sometimes we lament over what we gain, too. And we hope to lose it. In any case, those are the only two activities that are going on in the material world, and they, according to how much we're hankering and how much we're lamenting, we're considered to be in one mode of material nature or the next. For instance, those who are in the mode of ignorance, they're always lamenting. And they can fall into two categories. One is the Shudra, and what are they lamenting about? That they're always suffering. And why are they always suffering? Because they're always engaged in sinful activities. Or we could say the Mudhas, as explained here, those who are foolish, they're always suffering because they always do the wrong thing. They eat too much, or they eat too little, they sleep too much, or they sleep too little. Everything they do causes them problems. And the Shudra, he knows that whatever he does causes him problems, so he tries to take shelter of people who may give him some good advice or engage him in an activity which will not cause so much problems for himself or others. Similarly, those who are pious, as explained in this verse, pious, what is pious? Pious means taking care of the cows. The civilizations that don't protect cows are demoniac. Who don't protect the cows, and what to speak of the people. Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha. That Krishna, he has two businesses, protecting the Brahmins and protecting the cows. The Kshatriyas are supposed to protect the Brahmins, and the Vaishyas are supposed to protect the cows. And any civilization where there is no cow protection, it's not a human civilization. What to speak of, there are no Brahmins to protect. And even if there were, they wouldn't be protected anyhow. So that's not civilization, that's a civilization of sinful, foolish, deceitful, and atheistic people. More or less describes modern so-called civilization. And therefore, they're always in duality. And what is that duality? Everyone thinks they have a different interest. And what is that different interest? Everyone thinks my body is the absolute interest in life. And I expand it to my family, or to my community, or to my country, but everyone, ultimately I love my country, but I hate the one next door. I love my family, at least some members of it, especially my dog. So this duality means I love someone, I hate someone else. Matter of fact, we don't even know that we're in Slovenia unless we know that there were some other countries besides Slovenia. If everyone was Slovenian in this world, there wouldn't be any prestige of being Slovenian. Of course, how much prestige is there being in a country? Generally, we think our country's nice. Whatever it is, there's something special about it. We may not be big, but we're beautiful. We have a lot of trees. Something's nice about it. We're the planet of trees. So this is called duality. And where does that duality come from? In the previous verse, Krishna says, Ichcha dvesha samutena dvanvo mohena bharata sarva bhutani samoham sarge yanti parantapa. That all the duality is generally coming from two things. As I said, we were hankering. But what is everyone hankering for? We want to become God. Maybe not the big God. We'd like to become the big God, but that takes a lot of practice. We just want to become a little God. We just want a little kingdom where I'm God. Every mouse wants to be God in their little house. So whoever we are, we have our kingdom. I'm the Lord of my house. I'm the king of the house. My wife is the goddess of fortune. My kids are all plenary or partial expansions. The intelligent children are plenary expansions, and the ones who are not so intelligent, they're partial expansions. My car is my Garuda. So everyone is imagining somehow or another, I am the Lord, and they're hankering to become a bigger and better Lord. And we're lamenting the fact that it doesn't work. There was one hunter, he was killing people, actually an assassin, he was killing people to make money for his family. So he met Narada Muni one day, and Narada Muni said, don't you realize how much sinful reactions you're going to get for this horrible business that you're in? He said, yes, but my family loves me, I must make some money for them. Narada Muni said, all right, let's see how much your family really loves you. So, I'm going to, you go to them and you tell them that my dear wife, I'm doing so many sinful activities to you, surely I'm going to go to hell. I'm doing it because I love you. So please, because I know you love me, please take half my sinful reactions. So he went to his wife and said, my dear wife, I'm doing all these sinful activities out of love for you. Please take half my sinful reactions. There's no way. Get lost. I take the money, you get their sinful reactions. Being a little disappointed, he went to his children and said, my dear sons and daughters. I'm doing so many sinful activities to provide for you. Please take some of my sinful reactions. And his children said, get lost, Dad. Get a life. So then he went to his dog. He said, my dear dog, you're the most faithful in the house. I know you love me. You wag your tail every time you see me. Please take some of my sinful reactions. And then the dog bit him. Said, that's the end. I'm leaving. So everyone is in this role of imagining that actually this is my kingdom, these are my subjects, they love me, they'll protect me, and it's all just one illusion, as explained here. That this is my interest, my family is my interest, and that other family is not my interest. This country is my interest, and the other countries are not so much my interest. So this is because we're an illusion. That's dvandva. And what is that illusion? Because we're hankering and lamenting, that's all. That's the only reason. And because we're hankering, those who help fulfill our hankering, they become my friends. You can give me something. You can give me at least a little praise. If you can't give me anything else, then you're my friend. As I said when I was distributing books in the airport, it's so simple to distribute a book. People will walk by, and if you try to stop them, you say, are you from Ljubljana or out of town? That may be one of the lines, and people say, oh, I heard that a million times, get lost. Try to sell me a book. But if someone's walking by, you say, wow, look at those shoes. They're fantastic. And they go, my name is so-and-so. And because you praise them, wow, look at that shirt. If you tell them something that's on them or something about them that you think is fantastic, you're enthusiastic about, they said, finally, someone has recognized me. I've been wearing the shirt for 10 years waiting for someone to say something. You're my friend. Hey, man, we're together. That's it. Forever, forever. So people are just looking to be recognized for something. And if you're you're enthusiastic about the same thing as everyone else, as others, then you become one with them. You become united with them. Imagine going to a football game here in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, and it's against Croatia. And every time you're in the middle of the Slovenian crowd, and every time Croatia scores a goal, you go, yay! They probably grab you and make you into one of those balls and throw you out into the field. So people want to know that you're one with them, that you're in harmony with them, that you have the same objective, the same thing, the same idea that you're going to work together to lord it over the material nature cooperatively. You're going to have the same objects of enjoyment. And everyone else is your enemy. So that's the whole summary of material existence. Those who are my friends, those who are giving me things, giving me a little prestige, those who are on the same team, they're my friends, and everyone else is my enemy. And on the basis of that, we have all these different relationships. And anyone who reminds me of someone who's my friend, they become my friend. And anyone who reminds me of someone who's my enemy, they become my enemy. And the enemies of my enemies are my friends. And the friends of my enemies are my enemies. There's whole countries in South America. When you go there, you have to learn what is the history of relationships. Like Peru, they got into a war with Ecuador. But I think also other countries like Argentina got into wars with Ecuador, so Peru and Argentina are friends, but Peru got into a war also with Chile. So Chile and Ecuador are friends because they both have the same enemy, Peru. But Peru is an enemy of Chile and Ecuador. So that's the whole life. And on the basis of that, that's called history. History of Europe. How one country rolled over. I guess Slovenia has been part of so many different empires. I don't think it's... when we went to the parliament, they have these murals on the wall explaining about the history of Slovenia, how this country smashed it and then that country smashed it. Then they came up, they were free for a few years, and they got smashed. But they fought back every time they got smashed. But they rose again, and now they're part of the European Union, so life is good. So these are all due to the different degrees of sinful activities. Like, for instance, it says here that those who are foolish, they're most sinful. Those who are sinful are sinful. Those who are deceitful, they're sinful, even more sinful, or less sinful, whatever how you would. And those who are atheistic, they're the most sinful. Well, like different degrees of sin. And how to get out of it? First of all, regulate sinful activities. And the most sinful activity is to think that we're something other than God's servant, than Krishna's servant. So without religion, there is no such thing as piety, actually. Piety begins when people believe that they're actually God's servant, and they try to regulate their activities, especially their eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Or the four sinful activities: illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. Unless one is those who are religious are those who are regulating those activities, because those are the manifestations of lording it over the material nature to the greatest degree. Especially killing animals is such a greatly sinful activity, especially killing the cows. Krishna, he is the protector of the cows, and he's God, whether people like it or not. The Supreme Lord, in his original feature, what he does all day is killing cows. And what people are, the most sinful people are those who are spending the whole day killing them. So if one claims to be religious, and religion means to follow the orders of God, if one is doing the exact opposite of what Krishna or God is doing, then they're the most sinful. And if they're sinful, then their consciousness becomes covered by illusion, and they can't understand anything properly. They can't even understand what the value. They can't understand God. They can't understand their position as a soul. They can't understand the laws of karma. Just like they had that picture of that you probably saw, the diorama where the butcher is about to cut off the head of the cow, and the cow is the face of the man has the face of the cow, which means only time separates them from reversing their roles. So they can't understand anything. Their intelligence has been taken away by illusion, just like our intelligence is also taken away by illusion. So we think to more or less, greater or lesser extent, that we're this body. To more or less extent, we actually believe we're members of this country, or that we're male or female. So these are all products of illusion, but because we're engaged in Krishna's service, therefore this illusion has slackened to some degree or another. It's not as intense. If someone comes up to us and says we're not this body, we won't get all disturbed and say, "How dare you insult me?" And if someone says, if you're in the Bali concept of life, you're fool number one, and everyone in the material world is more or less tied for first place, we won't get upset. But if you go on the street and you hand someone a book and say, "My dear sir, do you know you're fool number one?" And your wife is fool number one tied with you. And why, they may ask, if they don't hit you? Because you're in the Bali concept of life, therefore you don't know anything. No, actually, Prabodhananda Swami Maharaj said, when you go on the street, you tell everyone, my dear sir, you're the most intelligent person I've met today. I haven't met anyone intelligent. No, you're the most intelligent, you're the most powerful, you're the most beautiful, you have the nicest family, you're the greatest. And then people will think, wow, finally met some intelligent person on the street. And then you give them a book, you sell it to them. And what you're really saying is, my dear sir, you're the greatest fool I've met. But somehow or another, you got this book, so please read it and give up all your nonsense and surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his service. But if you said that directly, people will get insulted, and we won't actually be able to help them or help ourselves. Therefore, somehow or another, engage people in Krishna service, and here it says, by getting them to chant Hare Krishna, because if they chant Hare Krishna, then and you give them some prasadam especially, some nice prasadam, some good association, then gradually their taste for sinful activities will diminish. And when they do that, then they'll like prasadam, they'll like nice curd, sabjis, and they'll like samosas and pakora. They'll become pious. That's the symptom of a pious person. He likes prasadam. When Prabhupada came to the West, he was actually quite concerned. He was wondering, not so much if they're going to chant Hare Krishna, he was worried about whether they liked prasadam or not. And he was quite surprised how much they liked it. There's one boy, Stray Dish, in 26 2nd Avenue, and he just wouldn't eat. Probably couldn't get him to eat. So his mother came to the storefront. They were living in the storefront, sleeping on the floor there. And Prabhupada wanted Stray Dish to stay there. Stray Dish wanted to stay there too. But his mother said, he can stay here if you feed him. He actually eats. So Prabhupada said, I'll personally feed him. So Prabhupada every day fed Stray Dish. And first he convinced him to eat 1 chapati. And he ate it. And he liked it, so he ate 2 chapatis, and then 3, then 5, then 10. And when he got up to 25, Prabhupada said, that's the limit. So, by eating prasadam, one became pious, and the taste for prasadam increased. Maybe not so much for the holy name, but at least for prasadam. So prasadam means piety. Unless one is pious, one will not have a taste for prasadam. Even Narada Muni claims that he developed a taste for hearing about Krishna because he ate prasadam given to him by the saintly persons. And then the next thing is that one will conquer sinful reactions. When one gets a little knowledge, then every time one gets an impulse to do something, one will have some superior intelligence that will prevent one from doing that. Because one has heard from the Brahmins and has taken it seriously and has applied that in organizing one's life. So that's called conquering sinful reactions. It's not that the sinful reactions don't come, but that one doesn't fall a victim to them. He doesn't, or as it says, kami, he doesn't strive to fulfill sinful desires. And then one can actually engage in devotional service, real devotional service, which comes after one gives up hankering, lamentation, and begins to treat everyone as Krishna's servant. Then after that, from the stage of nishta up into the stage of asakti, then one gets more and more experience of Krishna. One learns more and more directly, associates with Krishna, and finally at the stage of bhava and prema, one falls in love with Krishna and thinks about him, meditates upon him in pure love. So this is the process that's explained here, and it's a process by which, in the beginning, it's difficult to give up our hankering lamentation, but if we regulate our life and avoid sinful activities, then gradually we'll get a taste for prasadam, and then for when the tongue is conquered, then for the holy name, and then we can rise up to the platform where we're not so reactive to our circumstances. We can maintain steadily thinking about Krishna, and then we can accept doing things purely for Krishna's service, to please Him, and then we can experience how wonderful Krishna is and eventually fall deeply in love with Him. And why to do that? That's explained in the next verse. What's the advantage of doing that besides to live eternally in bliss and knowledge? The next verse will explain Dharana Marana Mokshaya Mama Shitya Tantiye. That one of the first impetuses we have to take up the process of devotional service is that it helps us avoid old age, disease, and death, and then having to take birth again. Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita that without understanding the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease, then there's no impetus to make advancement in spiritual life. So most of us are not here because every time we hear Hare Krishna, our sika or our hair stands on end. One of the reasons, at least partially, is we know that this material world is miserable, and it could even become more miserable than it already is, and our life could become even more inauspicious if we get the wrong birth in our next lifetime. Therefore, on one side, there's pressure to avoid sinful activities, to avoid the possibility of falling into the depths, into the whirlpool of material existence, forget our identity for a long, long time. And the other side is the opportunity to make advancement in devotional service, eventually become free from all our problems, all our speculations, to become tolerant, to become devotional, to experience Krishna as He actually is, how wonderful He is, and eventually to fall in love with someone forever. And that love only develops more and more eternally, because everything becomes more and more wonderful at every moment. I don't think anyone here would complain if you got into an existence and at every moment everything became more and more wonderful. I think, well, this is getting boring, it's just too wonderful. So that's what Prabhupada explained. He explained they had this suite called Simply Wonderfuls. You heard of Simply Wonderfuls? So that was our only suite, believe it or not, at the beginning. It was found on the back of a carnation powdered milk package. You add powdered milk with butter and powdered sugar, and you make it into balls. And that was our sweet. So devotees were wondering whether it was a bona fide sweet, and they asked Prabhupada one day, and they said, "Are these Simply Wonderfuls bona fide?" So Prabhupada tasted them, and he said that actually this process of Krishna consciousness is simply wonderful. And the devotees here are all wonderful, simply wonderful. And your Krishna is simply wonderful. So just keep on eating these simply wonderfuls and everything will be simply wonderful. So that's our philosophy. All right, thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande. So now we have the Dhammarastika prayers, or? Any questions? I have a question. Are there any questions? I had the first question. Yes. Here's the microphone.
Thank you for inspiring lecture. I was just wondering when you mentioned hankering and lamentation. So, how can we protect to the highest extent possible that hankerings and lamentation don't become too strong to drag us away from Krishna consciousness when in the beginning?
Careful associating with the opposite sex. As Chanakya Pandit said, Matrivat Paradareshu, that we should treat every woman, except if we have a wife, to be just like our mother. And when you see other people's property, you should think it'd be like garbage in the street. And when you see other living beings, you should think that we're all spiritual beings, we're all servants of Krishna. And then, with that attitude, we shouldn't get into so much trouble. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned this Janma Mrita Jara Vyadhi, that realizing the evil of birth, death, old age and disease is part of knowledge, and you quoted the next verse, Jara Marana Mokshaya. So sometimes we hear that desiring freedom from birth and death is some unfavorable desire in devotional service. On the other hand, we also do want to become free from the influence of illusion. So what's the proper position on this desire of liberation? Should we or should we not? Or what's the proper way to desire freedom from illusion, for example?
Well, we definitely want to get free from old age, disease, and death, and having to take birth again. That's definitely there. But if we become fully Krishna conscious, or we become Krishna conscious, then there is no more death. That there's no difference between being Krishna conscious and being liberated. So liberation and Krishna consciousness, they follow simultaneously. But as Prabhupada writes, there's no impetus to come to that platform unless we understand the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. So the devotee, sometimes he prays like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that I don't mind if I have to take birth again and again, but I just want your devotional service. So if we have devotional service, then we won't mind. If we're just like Narayana Parasarve Kutaschana Vidyati Swaga Apavarga Narakeshu Apitulyata Darshana. If we're actually fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, any of these, whether we go to hell or go to liberated or in heaven, makes no difference because we're actually living in the spiritual world. So somehow or another we want to live in the spiritual world, even if we have to live in the spiritual world while having to take another birth again. But it's living in the spiritual world we definitely hanker for, one way or the other. At least living on the spiritual platform. There's no advantage of living in the material platform whatsoever. There's no... Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't ask, please maybe in Maya. No, he said, Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram. Put me as an atom at your lotus feet. So he didn't mind if he was an atom at lotus feet, even if he had to take birth again. But at least as he remained an atom at Krishna's lotus feet, even if he had to take birth again. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you. Just to continue on this topic, I heard that there was a story, please correct me if I'm wrong, that devotees would come to Prabhupada and say, Prabhupada, we just want to serve you life after life. And then Prabhupada would get serious and say, don't make your spiritual master take birth again, come again to this material world just to receive your service.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that, sure. Birth after birth. All right. Wala, Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.
središčnemu gospodu šli Davodari, izkazujem podivno spoštovanje. V strahu, pred šivo materini, roki in oče, z lotosnima ročicama pa se spet in spet mame oči. Oči so mu polne strahu okoli vratu, ki ga krasijo 3 črte, da spominja na školjko, pa nosi bistveno grlico, ki se od hitrega dihanja ob njegovem jogu trese. Temu središčnemu gospodu šli Davodari, ki to strahuške ni zvezan z ljudmi, temveč se čisto ljubeznjo svoje matere izkazujem podivno spoštovanje. V otroškim zabavanjem kleta predvalce okoli otape v ocean ekstatičnih čustev, tistim baktam, ki so zatopljeni v znanju njegovem veličastvu in obilju, daje vedeti, da ga lahko osvojijo le bakte, katerih ljubezen pretvaja zaupnost in ne hromi strah spoštovanja. Spet z veliko ljubeznijo 100-krat in 100-krat izkazujem spoštovanje gospodu Damodaru. O Gospod, čeprav lahko podariš vse vrste blagoslovov, te ne prosim, da me blagosloviš za brezosebno osvoboditijo, niti ne z najvišjo osvoboditijo, večnim življenjem v zakuti, niti ne s katerokoli drugo ugodnostjo, ki jo dobimo za upravljanje 9 metod bhakti. O Gospod, želim si le, da se tvoja podoba bale, gopali, izmenjavali zavedno naseli v mojem srcu. Kakšne korist od kateregakoli drugega blagoslova. O Gospod, mati Jašoda znova in znova poljublja tvoj lotisov obraz, obdan skozi mehkih črnih las z rdečim nadihom. Tvoje ustnice so rdečkaste, kot sada žbimba. Naj ta čudovita slika tvojega lotisovega obraza zavedno stopi v moje srce. Na tisoče drugih blagoslovov nima nič ne pomeni. O središčni Gospod, izkazujem ti ponižno spoštovanje. O Damodara, o Ananta, o Višnu, o Gospodar, o Gospod, bodi zadovoljen z mano. Blagoslovi me s tvojim milostnim pogledom in zreši tega obodega nevedneža potopljenega v oceanu trjavnega gorja. Pokaži se pred mojimi očmi. O Gospod Damodara, kot dojenček z ljudjo privezan k lesenemu možganju, si sinova povere, Nigrima je narekovala, osvobodil narodovega prekletstva in jo povzdignil v veliki bhakti. Prosim te, daj tudi meni svojo oprema bhakti, trpenim samo po tem in se ne želim nobene oblike osvoboditve. O Gospod Damodara, najprej izkaži spoštovanje bleščeči sijajni vrvi, ki veže tvoj trebuščak. Nato izkazujem spoštovanje tvojemu trebuščku, v katerem leži ves univerzum. Ponižno se priklanjam tvoji najdražji Šrimati Radharani in izkazujem spoštovanje tebi, vsevišnjemu Gospodu, ki prizaraš naštete zabave. Vsa slava Šrimati Radharani in Damodari Gospodu Krišni.
Namamishvaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Vrajamana. Yasoda Biyalukala Davamana Param Rishamadhyanta Todupya Gopya. Rudandamur netra yugmam ridantam karamboja yugmena shatanka netra. Muswasakam bhakti rekankakanda Sita graiva damodaram bhakti bhada. Iti driksvali labir ananda kunde Swago shami madanta makyapayanta. Tadyeshi tageshu bhaktarji tattva punak prema tastam shata vritti vande. Varam deva moksham nam mokshavadim va nachandam vrindayam gore shadapiha. Idam deva purnata gopala pala sadame manasya virasam kimanyai. Idam te mukham bodham akantanila Ridam kundalai sigda raktai shagopya. Moksham vitam bharakta dharame Manasya virastam alam lakshalabhai. Namo Deva Damodara Vishnu Prasida Prabho Dukha Jalabdi Magna. Kripa Drishti Vrityati Dinam Vatano Grihane Shamamagame Dakshijitya. Kuvarat Madhobada Mortai Vayadva Tvaya Moshito Bhakti Vajokrito Cha. Tata prema bhakti swakame priyacha Namoksha graho mesi damodareha. Namaste sudamne swaradipti damne Tvayi odaraya ta vishvasadamne. Namo radhikaya dvadiyai priyaya Namo nantalilaya devaya tumya. Namam Ishvaram Satchidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Rajamana. Yasoda Viyolukala Davamana Param Risham Hatyanta Todupya Gopya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Damodarasika ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Damodara ki jai, Shri Shri Jasoda Damodara ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krišna Bhakte, še nekaj kratkih obvestil pred prasadamom. Najprej se bomo šrado obredom spomnili z molitvijo Slavka Trošta, to je oče Mataji Sita Prije. Zanj bomo izrekli 3 mahamantre, še prej pa bom prebrala molitev zanj. Naj ta duša, ob tej priložnosti vas prosimo, dragi Šri Panča Tatva, Šrila Prabhupada in vsi ačarje, vas prosimo, da naklonite svojo brezvzročno milost, ki smo jo v tem življenju poznali kot Slavko Trošt, oče Mataji Sita Prije. Naj ta duša končno dobi zavetje, ki je v razburkanem oceanu življenja edino stanovitno in izpolnjujoče. Naj na svoji poti, ki je ne poznamo, stopi v smer svoje izvorne ljubezni do vas samoizpolnitve. Prosimo vas, odpustite ji vse napake in jo vodite nazaj v njen izvorni dom. Hvala vam za uslišanje naših molitev, Hare Krišna. Zdaj pa še skupaj iz srca. Hare Krišna, Krišna Krišna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krišna Krišna, Hare Hare, hare-rama, hare-rama, rama-rama, Hare. Danes se bomo spomnili tudi sošolke Bhaktin Iris, to je Simona Slavinec. V tej priložnosti bom prebrala še pismo Davorina in Iris. Rade, dragi bakte, vljudno in ponižno vas prosiva za vaše srčne molitve. Simona, najboljša sošolka od Iris, je bila vedno skromna in prijazna, odlična in spretna športnica, delavna in iskrena duša. Nikoli ni opravljala drugih. Izvira iz družine 4 otroki, kjer sta bila deljenje vsega in sočutje v vsakodnevni dejavnosti. Sama je bila ljubeča mama, hčerki Rebeki. Simona je zaradi hudih zdravstvenih težav telo zapustila veliko prezgodaj. Po smrti me je na astralnem nivoju obiskala 2-krat, prvič nekaj dni po pogrebu s skrbnostjo, ko me je med spanjem želela pokriti. Drugič pa ta teden v sanjah, ko sem v srcu začutila veliko sočutje do njene duše in zelo veliko odločnost, da ji nemudoma pomagam na duhovni poti in sicer šrada obredom. Jai Shri Pancha Tattva, Jai Shri Shirada Damodar. Hvala vam za vaše sočutje do Simone in njene družine oziroma bližnjih. Vaša služabnika Davorin in Iris. Dragi Pancha Tattva, Šrila Prabhupada in vsi ačarje, ponižno se vam priklanjamo. Ob tej priložnosti vas prosimo, da naklonite svojo brezvzročno milost duši, ki smo jo v tem življenju poznali kot Simona Slavinec, sošolka Bhaktine Iris. Naj ta duša končno dobi vaše zavetje, ki je v razburkanem oceanu življenja edino stanovitno in izpolnjujoče. Naj na svoji poti, ki je ne poznamo, stopi v smer svoje izvorne ljubezni do vas, samo izpolnitve. Prosimo vas, odpustite ji vse napake in jo vodite nazaj v njen izvorni dom. Hvala vam za uslišanje naših molitev. Zdaj pa še 3 mahamantre. V torek nas obišče, to je 2. november, nas obišče njegova svetost Kadamba Kanana s vami. Haribol, lepo ste vabljeni, pride za en dan, tako da verjetno bo imel kakšno predavanje, spremljajte na naših teh socialnih omrežjih. V petek, 5. pa je Govardhan Puja. In da bi lahko pripravili vse za praznovanje, vas prosimo za sodelovanje. Predvsem prosimo, če lahko prinesete čim več maha za pripravo Govardhana. Vabljeni tudi, da prinesete domače dobrote, sladke ali slane, in bomo ponudili v njegovo zadovoljstvo. Tako da mah lahko prinesete do petka zjutraj. Današnja pojedina je sponzorirana, za nove goste pa ste lahko oglasite pri meni. Kdor je danes prvič, lahko stopi do mene in dobil bo sladko presenečenje, pa lahko karkoli vpraša. Sharira vidya jal, jodendriya tahe kal, Jive pele visha sagore, tara madhya jivati, lobo moj sudurmati, takičita katina samsare, Krishna boda doya moj, kori bare jiva joy, sva prasada nadila baj, Se namritapa. Radha Krishna Gunaga. Primedako Shri Chaitanya Nitai. Bhagavad Prasadam ki. Vabljeni spet naslednjo nedeljo in še vsak dan posebej. Hare Krišna.